Okay, so our first example is we want to find the mass of our region D, given our density function f of x, y, z equals x, and D is the region bounded by x equals 0, y equals 0, z equals 0, and x plus y plus z equals 1. So while you don't always have to do this, I'm going to go ahead and sketch the region just so that we get a sense of what's going on here. And you might notice that x plus y plus z is a plane. And the easiest way, I believe, to sketch a plane is to sketch the intercept. So I'm going to do that very quickly here. And here I have my z-axis, y-axis, and x-axis. And my x-intercept into my plane. So I'm looking at the equation x plus y plus z equals 1. My x-intercept is when y and z are both 0, so I know that's at 1. My y-intercept is when z and x are both 0, that's also at 1. And my z-intercept is when x and y are 0, that's also at 1. So we have a plane that looks like, let me try to make some straight lines here. It looks like this. There's one. Here's another straight line segment and a third straight line segment. So this is the plane. But our region is also enclosed between x equals 0, y equals 0, z equals 0. These are our coordinate planes, and which means that we're really in our octant number 1, right? So there's our tetrahedron in octant 1. Okay, the first thing we're going to have to figure out if we want to get the mass of this of this 3D object when our mass density function is f of x, y, z equals x is we've got to figure out how we're going to integrate it. We need to set up our triple integral, and so we've got to figure out we're going to go R3 simple. We have to choose whether we're going to have our inner integral to be with respect to z, with respect to y, or with respect to x. And as I've mentioned before, in this case, it really doesn't matter, but I'm going to go ahead and do z simple first so that then the region in R2 that we're left with is on the xy plane. So what does this mean? If we're z simple, we need to figure out what two curves are we integrating between. So let's say that I fixed a point. Look at my diagram. If I fixed a point on the xy plane, I need to go from the xy plane to this plane, x plus y plus z equals 1. If I go z simple, which is excuse me, which is what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go z simple because that's easier for me. And I need to find the bounds for z. Now, z will always be greater than or equal to 0 here because we're in the first octant. And if you notice, my line is sketching between the two curves that we're in between. So from z equals 0 to our plane. And if I rewrite the plane and solve this for z, this is z equals 1 minus x minus y. So we've enclosed z between 0 and 1 minus x minus y. And that is going to give us the bounds of our inner integral. Now, once we have done this, then we need to figure out how to organize how we're going to count everything up on the xy plane. So the region that we're left with, R, is on the xy plane. And so we're going to need bounds for x and bounds for y. And we have to determine whether we want to go x simple or y simple. And so again, my suggestion is try to sketch the region. It's much easier when you're sketching a region on a plane than when you're sketching the region on the in space. So here's our region in the xy plane. So there is x, there is y, and well, what's our region on the xy plane? You can kind of see it already in my 3D drawing, but typically the way that I think about the region is imagine looking above our two surfaces, in this case the plane and the given plane z equals 1 minus x minus y and the xy plane, and you look down and think about the shadow that's cast onto the plane, the xy plane in this case, and this is the shadow. So that is our region. So our region or footprint is actually when, well, we know z equals 0, so we can get it from our equation of the plane. When z is 0, we have that x plus y equals 1. You can also think of it as, well, we know it's going to be a straight line segment, and we know the y-intercept is 1, x-intercept is 1, so we have a line that has a slope of -1 and passes through 1. And so this is y equals 1 minus x. So there's a couple of ways you can do this. You can look at the projection, looking up and thinking about the projection on the xy plane. Sometimes you can also set z equal to 0 in your surface and see what that gives you, but that's not always reliable. It can't always be done. Okay, and now we have to decide what are the bounds on x and y. Now you can see the way that I've written my function already, that I've chosen y simple. I've chosen to be between two functions of x just because of the way that I wrote my function, but I could have just as easily solved for x instead. But now I'm going to specify what are the bounds for y. Well, y is always going to be between two functions, 0 and 1 minus x. And once I've set that, then I'm going to integrate with respect to x, where x will be between two constants. And here you can see as I go through our region in green that x will be between 0 and 1. And so now that we've identified the bounds for each of our three integrals, we're ready to set this up. So our number 3 here is our setup. And our setup of the integrals will be as follows. Our inner integral, because we went z simple, that went from 0 to 1 minus x minus y. Our function is x, and we're starting with a dz for z simple. There's our inside integral. Our middle integral goes for y from 0 to 1 minus x, and then we have a dy, and our outermost integral is the integral from 0 to 1, and we have dx. So there is our triple integral. One thing that I want to point out is that notice that the inner integral, the limits of integration, are written in terms of x and y. When we evaluate this and we have a z will take on values of x and y, and then we will integrate with respect to y. Our middle integral are only functions of x. That x has to match our outermost differential dx. And we have to make sure that our outermost integral is always between two constants. Now, let's go ahead and evaluate this integral, because in future problems, I may just set them up with you, but not evaluate all of them. But let's go ahead and evaluate this one. It's not a very difficult one to evaluate. It might get algebraically messy, but let's do it. Now, you can do it one of two ways. You can do it all at once and just write all your iterator integrals at once as you integrate, or maybe it might be easier to go from the inner to the middle to the outer. I'm going to do it that way just to be more organized, but typically I just do it all at once. So, but for right now, let's go ahead and evaluate that inner integral, which is the integral from 0 to 1 minus x minus y of x dz. So remember, here we're holding x and y constant, integrating with respect to z. So this is going to give us an xz, and z goes between 0 and 1 minus x minus y. And so applying the fundamental theorem of calculus, we have x times 1 minus x minus y for z. And then when I subtract what I get when I put z equals 0, that's just going to be 0. I'm going to go ahead and multiply this out and get x minus x squared minus xy. We may not have needed to, but I did. Okay, now let's work our way inwards to our outwards to our middle integral. So now our integrand is what we just obtained from our evaluating the inner integral. But now we're going to be integrating with respect to y. So we're going to go from 0 to 1 minus x. And our integrand is x minus x squared minus xy dy. So integrating with respect to y, we're holding x constant. We have an xy minus x squared y. I could have factored out an x here, but I didn't think of doing that. Minus xy squared over 2. And this is from 0 to 1 minus x. And remember, these limits of integration are with respect to y. So here we're going to get x times 1 minus x minus x squared times 1 minus x minus x over 2 times 1 minus x squared. And when we put 0 for y, everything goes to 0. So that is our result of our middle integral. I can probably clean this up a bit. I could factor out a 1 minus x, but I think I'm just going to multiply everything out and combine like terms. Maybe not the most efficient way, but it'll work. So we have x minus x squared, then a minus x squared plus x cubed, minus x over 2. Oops, nope, I got a square first. Sorry about that. We're going to keep that x over 2 on the outside, and then we have a 1 minus 2x plus x squared on the inside. And then this is x minus 2x squared plus x cubed minus x over 2 plus, I'm distributing x over 2, so that's a plus x squared, and then minus x cubed over 2. And then continuing to combine some like terms here, you can see why I'm not going to do this for every problem. We have, I just have an x minus half x, that's a 1/2 x. My x squared terms, I have a negative x squared term. And then a 1x cubed minus half x cubed is a plus 1/2 x cubed. Now we're finally ready to take care of our outer integral, and we're going to integrate with respect to x and then evaluate over 0 to 1. So we have the integral from 0 to 1 of 1/2 x minus x cubed plus 1/2 x minus x squared plus 1/2 x cubed dx, and this is going to give us 1/2 x squared over 2, or x squared over 4, minus x cubed over 3 plus 1/2 x to the 4 over 4, so plus x to the 4 over 8. From 0 to 1, when we put 1 in place of x, we have a 1/4 minus 1/3 plus 1/8. Common denominator here is 24, so that's 6 over 24 minus 8 over 24 plus 3 over 24. 6 minus 8 is 2, plus 3 is 1. So our answer is 1 over 24. And so if our original function was a density function, then 1 over 24 is the mass of our tetrahedron.